to start, I'm going to introduce our two special guests today. I think everyone in the room probably knows of both of them, or at least knows their name and kind of what they've done, but just to kind of give you a list of things here. First and foremost, the founder of Cutting Edge Firewood. If you don't know Cutting Edge Firewood, you need to know it. It's amazing. I personally have not used it. I found out about it in these conversations, but I'm so intrigued now. And whenever we can start building fires at my house that we've outgrown, I will be doing that. But founded it in what year? 2013, founded Cutting Edge Firewood, and then just 9 short years later, successfully exited in 2024. You may have seen their products featured on Fox and Friends, The Today Show, The Morning Show, Netflix, Garden and Gun, even in the Oval Office. They've used these products, and the man behind it all has been heard quoting something along these lines, is that when you think about firewood, everybody thinks about that as a commodity, right? But he thought about it and thinks about it as an experience. And so you can just hear the vision and the leveling up there, which I'm sure lent to his success. We're going to hear more about that here in a few minutes. He is close to his next venture, which will be announced soon. But today we get to talk about Cutting Edge and all of the things that he was able to build over those years. So if you will, please welcome up here to my left seat, Mr. Leroy Hite. Distinguished sir. Like that. He wore a suit, tie. I'm here in my polo, like looking good. I like that. If you can't tell, I'm going to keep it pretty chill today, okay? We're not going to be stuffy today. You can have a seat. You don't have to stand up. I'm going to stand up and keep going here. So our other guest today, a lot of you also know his name, know his legacy that he has left and it continues to build. He's the founder of Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company back in 1983. If you've been to a Ritz-Carlton, you know that he created operating and service standards that have become world famous and have become the standard across the world. He was the president and COO responsible for $2 billion operations worldwide during his time with the Ritz. They were the first service-based company to be awarded the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award 2 times. Founded then, after he left, the Capella Hotel Group after leaving, and won numerous awards, was awarded many things, Corporate Hotelier of the World by Hotels Magazine, honorary Doctor of Business Admin and Hospitality Management at Johnson & Wales University. Recently was awarded a Legacy of Innovation and Inspiration Award at Historic Hotels of America. And then in 2022, Auburn University School of Hospitality made the permanent name of the hospitality management the Horst Schulze School of Hospitality Management. Today, he serves on numerous boards and is a sought-after keynote speaker and consultant. And his first book was Excellence Wins back in 2019, which has already sold over 100,000 copies. I don't believe we have any today, but I would encourage you to go and grab it because a lot of the ideas and the things, the experiences that you will experience up here today, you will get to experience in the book as well. So if you will, please join me in welcoming to our room Mr. Horst Schulze. Glad you're here. Thank you. All right. Well, as I said, I want to keep this pretty chill today. So, if you guys want to tell some jokes or anything like that, feel free to do that as well. We've got an incredible room here, and we're going to dive in. So I want to start here, Leroy, with you. As we talked about just a second ago, firewood is a commodity. You think about firewood, but you created it around an experience. And so tell us a little bit more about that and kind of take us back. Tell us a little bit of the story of how you built everything that was Cutting Edge or is Cutting Edge.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, yeah, perfect. So everyone, thought firewood was a commodity or maybe even lower than a commodity. I remember you could get it on Craigslist for free. And when I started selling it in 2013, half of all firewood that was sold in the United States was bug infested, and the rest was rotten and maybe had mushrooms growing out of it. And I love doing things differently than other people. And so I was like, what's a better opportunity, a better industry to disrupt than something that's bug infested? Completely backwards. And I realized also that if you have a fire in the fireplace or in a fire pit, you're not looking for a commodity, you're looking for an experience. You want the the flicker of the flame, you want the aroma, you want the warmth, you want the crackle. It's like a sunset that hits all the senses. And and essentially it's the ambiance, the experience. And people are willing to pay a premium for a great experience. And so I had started a firewood company in college and went and worked in corporate America, different jobs for a few years. And I had this calling in the back of my head. It was just nagging. And it was, you should go start that premium firewood. And I was like, is this my calling from God? I don't know. That such a weird obsession. And I would see an F-350 flatbed truck driving down the road. And I'd be like, I wonder how much firewood I could fit on the back of that. That is a weird obsession.
How much firewood can you fit in the back of that 350?
Depends on the make and model. But so, and I was way too afraid to start it. I was scared. But it kept building, wouldn't go away. And I was 2 months in at a new job. And my wife and I had joked, my beautiful wife that played a very important role in the business, that when my 93 Geo Prism broke down, that I would go buy a truck and start the business on the side. Well, it breaks down. That Saturday, wife goes to a baby shower. She's out of town. And I wake up and I prayed throughout the entire day. And by the end of it, I was like, I think this is my calling to start a firewood company. I'm going to start it on the side. Wife comes home. We talk about it. And then I went into work on Monday and they fired me on the spot. So I was like, apparently this is going to be my full-time job. I grew up Ringgold, Georgia, poor boy, one of 8 kids, and I had no idea what I was, looking back, I was incredibly ignorant, had no idea what I was doing, had no business starting a business. And I went out and first 4 years were brutal. I financed the business with credit card debt. I would basically get as many credit cards as I could. And then during the busy season, I would pay them off when I was flush with cash. And then during the summer, I would get as many credit cards as I could. And that was my line of credit. And I would work 100, 110 hours a day delivering firewood, which was hard manual labor. Nobody thought it was a great idea, fancy firewood. Second year in business, my wife was at home with our oldest, pregnant with our second, and working 50 to 60 hours a week in the business while I was gone 100, 110 hours a week delivering firewood. And then in 2017, we were in a really tight spot, but I saw an opportunity to take the business to the next level. So I went to my wife and said, hey, most beautiful wife in the world, I know we have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old girl at home, and you're 8 months pregnant with our third daughter. Wouldn't now be the perfect time to sell the house and invest it in the business and take the delivery and branding to the next level? And because she's the greatest wife in the world, a couple of weeks later at 11:30 p.m., we were in the hospital and she was giving birth to our third. And the next morning at 8 a.m., I met with a lawyer to close on the house and sell it. And really, that's when I was able to reinvent how to do local deliveries and really reinvigorate our website, which took over national on SEO. And then in 2019, started putting out the yard signs. Many of y'all saw, and COVID happened, and we exploded and grew crazy fast. And so, fun story.
Wow, that's great. So I'm hearing a few things in there. Mainly, though, the thread that I'm hearing is the idea that excellence is bred through adversity. That in anything that you're going to build, anything you're moving toward, there will be adversity, and it's a matter of what we choose and how we go about it, which then leads to opportunities that could be great as we move toward excellence. And so, love that. I want to take that because I imagine, Horst, that you experienced some adversity yourself in building your brands and really building them around excellence, building excellence into them. So if you could take us back to where this idea of excellence came from, how that was built in you, and then how you pursued that and began to build it into what eventually became you as the founder of the Ritz. So,
That would be a really long story.
well, we're here. I got time, so I'm just kidding. Born in 1939, into adversity in Germany, in Nazi Germany yourself.
Sure.
And so, yeah, tell us more about that.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I was asked that a few days ago on a podcast about what. That was kind of funny that I come. Usually people don't go back that far. I don't either. So, but yeah, I was born. In fact, I was talking about that. My few months after I was born, my dad was drafted into the war. On the other side, by the way. So the group that came in second. The and so he went and he was in Russia for years. I actually the first time I remember a moment faintly when he was back on leave one time. He only came back one on leave, but next time I see him when I was 7 years old, coming from the denazification camp. Denazification camp. That means prisoner of war camp in Germany. He came back from there. So I met him the first time when I was 7, and I left home when I was 14. Home to go work in a hotel. I didn't leave by myself. My mother took me to the hotel. It was unfortunately over 100 kilometers away from home, but it was the best hotel in the region. That's why my parents found there a job to work as a busboy. And the question was excellence. And so the interesting thing was the first person that I met then. I had an audience with the general manager for about 30 seconds. At that time, a general manager of a major hotel and so on was kind of a god. And I was just a moment. And he made it very clear. He said, well, welcome. Now you are now going to be here to learn to become a servant to very important ladies and gentlemen, our guest. That's what I wanted. And that was the mantra of the hotel. We are here. We are servants to very important ladies and gentlemen. And the guests in that hotel were unusually important because it was right beside Bonn, and the capital of West Germany at the time. And anybody important that came to Bonn, and there's a lot of activity. At that time was more activity in Germany today because the phasing of the Iron Curtain, everything happened there. Every big spy was there, and so on. Truly, so everybody was important in that hotel. And then the second person I met was the head waiter of the hotel, whom I worked for whom I worked. And he said 2 sentences to me. Now, young man, tomorrow show up at 7 a.m. Now, mind you, if I meant 1 minute after 7, I would tell you so. In one sentence, he established you do things right. You don't say something that you don't mean, and so on. And I didn't get it at the time. I was 14 years old, nervous and scared to death. But I worked with him then for 3.5 years. I got slowly what he meant. Believe me, he made sure I understood. And then the next sentence was, and do not come to work tomorrow. Come here to create excellence. And what I learned from him, and he lived that. And he didn't do anything. Literally, I tried to somewhat live up to that, but impossible. He really didn't do anything without a high intent. And he made it very clear to us. We are human beings. A chair fulfills a function. Human beings fulfill functions for a higher intent. And that is excellence. If your intent of what you do is excellence, is a high intent, and that high intent made all that clear in so many words over the next 3.5 years. That high intent always has to be good for all concerned. If you lead a company, your purpose, you have to be very clear. The purpose has to be good for all concerned. When I started Ritz-Carlton, I started I came here with the intent to make that the best hotel company in the world. Started with a hotel in Buckhead. That was the intent. I had a great job. I had golden handcuffs. I had everything I ever wanted. But I was told I can do what I want with that company operationally. It had nothing to do with financial or development and so on. I was just running the operation and build a company from this to global company. But excellence was the word. I came here with the purpose of creating, in my mind, creating a finance hotel company. But then I sat down and said, is it good for all concerned? Is it good for the investors? It has to be, otherwise it won't be business. Is it good for every employee? Is it good for every customer? Is it good for society? And would God approve? Once the answer was yes, I was pinned in a corner. I couldn't compromise anymore. So, and excellence was the driving word because it came back from going to the Metro D in that time. That's how my excellence journey was done. And I want to just say a thing about excellence again. Excellence and the pursuit of high values and so on. It is the right thing, of course, to pursue excellence for a business and for the success of business, and we talk about that. But it's also a reflection of character, clearly, and it should be, and the pursuit should be there. But the excellence has to be a reflection of character, and excellence, of course, if you create excellence, you will eventually be successful in an organization.
Thank you for that. So I want to connect some dots here because we've got the two of you here sharing your thoughts and how you built things. There's a connection between the two of you. You're actually friends. So tell me a little bit about how you guys got connected and which led to us being here today with the two of you together.
Yeah, so that goes a way back. So my wife and I met working at Chick-fil-A when I was 17. And around that time, Chick-fil-A started saying the very famous saying, when somebody would say thank you, we were taught to say my pleasure. At first, I kind of felt like it was a little cheesy and inauthentic, but I soon, after I started saying it, I started kind of falling in love with customer service. And on a very basic level, I kind of started realizing that love isn't just feelings, it's also, much more importantly, actions. And a lot of times the feelings kind of come after the actions, and it's actually true in marriage as well. So I learned that, and then a good 16, 17 years later, I started the world's first luxury firewood company. And we get a call, and Horst Schulze is calling to congratulate me for our level of customer service. And later, I kind of made the connection of, it's a really cool full circle event because Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, was good buddies with Horst. And Truett Cathy kind of stole that from Horst, the saying, my pleasure. And so.
Can you confirm this?
I have to correct that for a second.
Okay, correct it.
No, we have to go back. And it's kind of a funny story because everybody gives me credit for my pleasure in Chick-fil-A's. I was consulting. Dan and I ran a race together. Dan, the son, who was CEO at the time, father was German. We ran a race together, and we knew each other, and we ran a race together. And on the end, he said, have you been in Chick-fil-A? Mind you, that's 40 years ago. That was here. They were only in Atlanta. And I said, yeah, I have been in Chick-fil-A. So he said, what do you think? I said, well, Dan, you're kind of the best of a lousy lot, but you're not very good. and he said, so he said, well, let's go to Chick-fil-A and show me if I'm not good. And so we went. And so he said, could you on the side consult with us? I said, okay, if I'm here in town and we can, doesn't take too much time. So we started a consulting deal together. And then on one of the sessions, he had all managers there and all corporate people that existed at the time. And we talked about, and we had other sessions before, but I said, let's talk about definition. How do you define yourself? What do you want to define yourself of? We had a conversation on that before. And so, and what makes a great restaurant? And I said, you define yourself by writing fresh, but you have plastic flowers on the table. how does that work together? And so those are discussions. Now, that discussion was about how do you define yourself in your relationship with the customer? That moment when you meet a customer. And so I said, for example, we in Ritz-Carlton, we say within 10 feet, because that's when people make decisions about each other, if you like it or not. And it is, again, one of those definitions. It's not what society says. It's a lie. And I'm going to say things here probably some of you will not like at all, but that's my opinion. You keep yours, okay?
Say it.
So,
Come on.
Wait. I mean, really, so that was a discussion in a room. Group like that, but about 30 people. Truett was sitting in the back. He was in the back. He just wanted to be there. He heard that is the 5th session we have. He wanted to be there and listen, but I'm teaching them, those people. So it was language. He said, when you come in, we don't say hi. Because if I say hi to you, what am I saying? We're equal. Hi. But what if I say, good morning, ma'am, how are you today? Welcome. I'm saying, I respect you. But at the same time, I'm saying, I'm defining myself as being trustworthy, as being professional. So that's the moment, and I explained that. And I said, for example, we don't say, okay. We say, my pleasure. Now, here's what I said. We may say, my pleasure, but that's not right for you. Because your market statement is a lower market statement that is fancy for me, it's right for me, but not for you. And so we decided, what should we say? So we talked about it for 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, Truett in the back said, I like my pleasure. I said, Mr. Cathy, obviously I do too, because I'm using it. But it's not fitting you. He said, I like it. That was it. So I told him not to use it.
And so Horst had a profound impact on my life.
I love that. And I want to go back to this moment for a second because you said Horst Schulze is reaching out to you to congratulate you. So on your end,
Yeah.
what did you notice? The man who is committed to excellence.
No, and it was not a damn wood, by the way. And the wood was good, mind you. But was the relationship that they had a way to store it without asking done right at end. There was a communication. There was the language and the communication. There was, wow. And then the question, if everything worked out right, the question can follow up the question, and everything was timely. Is it? We have to understand. Yeah. If you like it or not, you all, each one of you, and the interesting thing that has been studied in all cultures, there is the same expectation in every one of you. It doesn't matter what culture, it doesn't matter if it is China or Japan or Berlin, it doesn't matter. The expectation of a purchase is in each person, when you purchase something, have the same subconscious expectation. There are 3 expectations you have if you buy anything at all. I always give water as an example. Here, you buy a bottle of water. What do you expect? You have an expectation. Your expectation is that it is defect-free, nothing swimming in there. You're not conscious of that expectation, but you have that expectation. The number 2 expectation you have in any purchase is that the product is defect-free. Okay, that's it. Number 2, timeliness. So everything was timely. The product was right, it was timely. And number 3, what you expect is that the people who give it to you, that they're nice to you. And that worked out too. So all the expectations were fulfilled for buying firewood. Wait a minute. That blew me away. So I had to call him. I had to say, hey, I'm blown away because again, my expectation is pretty low there. You know, firewood, what the hell, I mean. And there was, the timeliness was exactly right. The additional care of how it's stored was totally right. And the people that communicated were absolutely nice. So that's why I called. That was the reason it was exceptional for, in that level. Your expectation is still there, but it is not a high expectation. But that is the expectation anything you buy. We have to say, when we're in business, we have to. Gosh, I mean, so many of you. I'm not in this room, but so many businesses. It seems that the customer is not very important. It's what we do is important. But wait a minute, it's all about the customer. And so I have to. It's not only. Last word on that. A recent study. 80% of the American consumer, 80%. I mean, if we don't hear that, then there's something wrong with us. 80% of the American consumers say, I will deal with you if you're nice to me, even if I could buy the same product for less next door. So guys, a product is not the driver of customer loyalty. It's the relationship, the nice relationship drives customer. Because when you're even nice to me, I trust you. Customer loyalty is nothing else but trust that is developed. That's all it is. So how is that trust developed? By saying, oh, wow, I'm going to trust them because there's nothing swimming in this water. That is ridiculous. But I trust you if you gave me that and said, thank you for buying from us. And have a wonderful day. And now I say, whoa. So it is all this, what is called hospitality or service.
Yeah, building trust, I imagine, and just talking to both of you previous to us being here today, I get the sense that both of you are very detail-oriented and have a high value for building trust by way of proper execution. You mentioned doing things right. We were talking before about how we say certain things and the way that they're perceived. So how has that played into what you both have built? And how do you know when you're going to perfection is what comes to mind. So when you think about perfection, is perfection equal to excellence? And if not, where do you draw the line? How do you find that balance?
You shoot for the moon and you fall amongst the stars. Now, I've heard a lot of people ask, like, are you more detail oriented or are you more big picture? And I think as a founder, you have to be absolute both. Nobody's going to be obsessed about the details if I'm not. But at the same time, I also have to cast the vision. And so I have to be obsessed about both of them. And I like to say that, so our underlying driver that got everybody really excited at Cutting Edge was the customer experience. And I like to say that every single detail matters, and whether it's branding, the product, or the service, all the details matter and they add up to be the picture. Ultimately, we couldn't deliver rotting firewood to somebody because then they have a bad experience. And at the same time, we sure as heck better have phenomenal customer service and care about the customer. And our underlying driver was their experience. We had this product called Uncut Rounds that you had a very, very hard time starting them by themselves. But with our firewood, they went beautifully together. And we would have people on rare occasions try and just order the uncut rounds. And they'd say, oh, we got a gas starter, it'll work out great. And I knew it was not going to be a good experience. And so we would give them a box of our hickory firewood with the uncut rounds, even if it meant that we lost money on the deal, because we wanted them to have a great first experience with us. And it was, on the details, we had, of course, internal mantras. Terry Bradshaw was a customer of ours, so it was very easy just to say, everything that leaves this warehouse, pretend like it's going to Terry Bradshaw. It might, because we didn't send an internal memo whenever Terry Bradshaw placed an order. And so it might be going to him. And so everything, product had to be perfect. Every single customer interaction had to be perfect. And we would go back, and every time, which was daily, we would have customers send us messages about how awesome we were. I even had some I had business leaders call in and congratulate on the level of customer service. People would say, when y'all arrive at our house, it's like the Ritz-Carlton is coming to our house, which I loved, because then I was like, yeah, and the Ritz-Carlton co-founder is a customer. Had a gentleman in this room actually send me a message on LinkedIn that said, I was expecting firewood, but this felt more like I was receiving a Rolls Royce at my house, which and we would always we would pass that around internally, and everybody's eyes would light up because that's what got us excited.
Yeah, which I imagine ties the detail that they're putting in to the end result, which is great. And that sounds like you want to say something. I do have a follow-up question.
No, I want to answer the question.
Don't worry about this. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, because probably everybody forgot, so ask the question one more time.
Well, you mentioned perfection there, and I'm wondering what happens when perfection doesn't happen. How you maintain the details when perfection doesn't happen.
You said two different things there. They're two.
That's why I wanted you to go first. You know.
Well, it's very important to understand that here we asked, is organization more important, or is this one? Two different things. Let's look at it this way. What is a great company? A great company, number one, understands what the customer expects from their product. Period. Not what you expect. What is the customer expecting from my hotel? When they come, the way I advertise and so on, I come giving a picture of what do they expect when they walk into the first door, what they expect. I have to know that. I have to, now, once I know that, and that is where the exactness comes out versus the being nice, that was kind of the question. The exactness then comes when once I know that I create processes which deliver that expectation superior to the competition. I have to create processes. How am I going to do this expectation and make sure I'm going to give it to you all the time without defect, superior to my competition? That's the question. And that is the precision that has to be worked out. I don't have to do that. I can delegate more of that. If I would have to do it, it would never happen. I can delegate that though. I can measure afterwards, are we delivering? And then I can take all processes, and if a defect happens in the delivery, I don't look at the mistake. I look at my process, find the root cause, eliminate it, and will never happen again. That is called continuously improving an organization. Now wait a minute. But doing that all, what I'm talking about here, management. But wait a minute. It's my doorman in Shanghai who is delivering it, not me. So how do I make sure, and how is that done? Well, now we're not in management, now we're in leadership. How do I make sure this doorman, if I'm managing, have a manager there, he will force that to happen, but wait a minute, I want to make sure he wants to make it happen. So how do I create an environment where every employee wants to do that? And that is called leadership. But in order to accomplish that kind of response by employees, as a leader, I have to have processes also. There is a process of making sure I have the right employees, said a million times. How about the right hiring? How about the right orientation? How about the right training? How about the right work environment? How about the right system to sustaining the knowledge we give them from the beginning? Those are all processes. But at the same time, in that process, so I have the right employee. If the employee is not good, why the hell did you hire him? It's your fault, buddy, not his. You're the leader. Hey, wait a minute, nobody forced you to hire him. So don't say it's the employee, it's you. Or maybe you don't train him right. So you have those two things. You have the management part, the leadership part. But now you have to have the overall environment, and the overall environment doesn't happen in companies. Look, let me tell you something. Maybe you run one of the companies I'm talking about here. Don't be mad. I have, over the last 10 years, talked to at least 1,000 employees in many companies and asked, hey, what's the vision? What's the purpose of your company? What's the high intent? Nobody could answer it. Nobody. The CEO of that one company who wrote a big book about our most important asset, our employees. But no employee ever knew what the vision of the company is. With other words, the employees were hired to fulfill a function, not to be part of the company. They are leadership. If you're leading people, you bring employees in to join you in your vision, which most likely the company doesn't even have. high purpose. In my honest opinion, and I think I'm maybe exaggerating that, I believe the highest gift a company can give an employee is purpose. Here, join me to make this the finest hotel company in the world. Be part of this wonderful, wonderful journey. And if we make it, you will have more opportunity. You will be respected. You will have honor. You will have everything. You will benefit dramatically if you make it. So not only do I give him purpose, I give him motive. And here's the thing. And I try to say it all the time because I'm really zealous about ourselves, that people move in that direction. Even Aristotle said people cannot be fulfilled in life without purpose and without a purpose and belonging. But we don't offer it. Hey, Adam Smith, if you're business people, you went to business school, you read it. Wealth of Nations, you all read it. But he wrote another more important book about the human being. And Adam Smith said 300 years ago, people cannot relate to orders and direction. People can only relate to objective and motive. Objective, vision, purpose, and motive, why we do it. And yet we give orders and directions because we manage. Because our employees are there only to fulfill a function, just like the chair on which you're sitting. And that's the problem. And I'm sorry it took that long. And I think
You're doing
one more word on that. The maitre d' that welcomed me there 70 years ago, he welcomed me and said, don't come to work. Come here to create excellence. He made it very clear, constantly. Chairs fulfill functions. We are human beings. Before I left there, he told me, come here, look me in the eyes. Promise me you will never become a chair. Promise me never go to work. It's your mind. It's your mind. He made it very clear. Your destiny is not the world around you. Your destiny is the decisions that you make. By the way, when I wrote an essay after there 2 years in, and I called that essay, we are ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. Once a week I went to hotel school because I had seen him reach a table. And I could tell the guests on this table, very important guests, were proud that he came to them. And I said, wait a minute, we are supposed to be the servants. And they, the ladies and gentlemen, we are supposed to be nothing. That was why. And that evening I questioned myself, why? Why were they proud that he came to them? And it was very clear, it came to the very clear conclusion. Because he had defined himself as a very fine gentleman. And I realized, even if I wash dishes the rest of my life, I still can define myself as a first-class human being. So and I knew I will not blame others. I will not blame the president. I will not blame anything since I'm 16 years old. If I'm not making it, it's me. I'm the one who is responsible. My decisions that determine my destiny. I define myself. And that is that's how we try to hire and relate and so on. That's how Ritz-Carlton was created.
Thank you for that. I want to ask one question here and then be thinking of your questions that you have for the two of them because I want to make sure we get to those next. But Horst speaks strongly on what I'm hearing is culture, ownership of the way that you maintain yourself and how you show up. So Leroy, I'm wondering from you, when you think about leadership, when you think about being the voice, the bearer of the vision, the bearer of the one who says, this is the way it should be done. We're creating an experience that will be excellent over just the product of firewood or whatever else it is. How do you maintain your ownership, your excellence of yourself when you are the one who is creating that and building culture for everyone else?
It goes back to the culture and everybody holding themselves accountable. How we said it at Cutting Edge was, if we ever made a mistake, we didn't make it right. We made the customer happy. We made a mistake. It stung us. And so we didn't make those mistakes too often. But those customers would go on to be more obsessed about the brand than if we hadn't made the mistake. And I can think of many such examples, but I mean, I remember kind of a funny example well before COVID, well before we became super famous. But I remember one of our delivery artisans, we didn't call them delivery guys, they were artisans because they had the respect, kind of like the ladies and gentlemen.
Which even in that, just the elevation of that's a piece of culture. As I I think that's like you're elevating how you are addressing those who are providing the customer service experience.
Yes.
Just wanted to note that. Go on.
Yeah, and I remember one guy left some tracks in a customer's yard, and at the time did not take credit and hold himself accountable, and the customer had to call and complain. And I remember being on the phone with them and looking back at the time, it was not funny. Looking back, it was very funny. They called in angry, and then I got angry and I started yelling because they said, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal." Because I said, this order is free. That this couple $1,000s of firewood that you bought, it's on us, and I'm sending you in a gift and an apology letter. And they're like, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal." And I said, "Yes, it is." and after the, and of course they bought every year for until after I left, and they were huge fans. But in the moment, I cared about their experience, and that delivery artisan, different story, but never made that mistake ever again, and learned their lesson. And it was, but back to the culture, it was everybody that was there, their passion, and we made it part of the culture of we care about the customer experience, and we celebrated the customer experience. And ultimately, you were rated upon how well of a job you did with the customer experience, because all of our values in the business pointed towards that experience, whether it was being a good teammate and assisting with the experience, or directly helping, being creative. And we would, and everybody had the power to, oh yes, just like at the Ritz-Carlton, oh, we made a mistake. Everybody would know, okay, box of cherry firewood with an apology letter, go to the customer same day. And it was, so ultimately it came back to the culture of everybody owning the mistakes, but also owning that customer experience. And we also had a culture of iron sharpens iron, where we were not, quote unquote, a nice culture. We would critique each other. Now, we wouldn't shout out, "Oh, Horst, that was really dumb," across the room when somebody made a mistake. It was, we would take them aside and we would tell them how that they could do it better. But I actually had something that I think really helped people get more comfortable with that, is I would allow the employees, I would go and I would make phone calls, and I would allow the employees to critique me in front of everybody. And as they got more comfortable with that, they would, and they loved it that they could critique me in front of everybody. No, they were respectful. They didn't call me stupid in front of everybody, but just repeating that culture and obsessing about the service and helping make each other better.
Yeah, I'm hearing workplace safety, psychological safety. I'm hearing leadership by example, ownership. Lots of really good stuff in there that I think obviously has led to success on both sides. But we could. I have a ton more notes here. We could keep going, but I want to open the room up to all of you. Jessica's going to have a microphone, and so if you will, just throw your hand up if you've got a question for either one of these gentlemen, and let's just see where it goes. I got a couple in the back here, one in front.
Hey, thank you guys so much. My name is Vance. I was curious, what's the biggest difference between companies that maintain a great culture? Like you guys obviously are implementing a really strong culture, but we know that there's a huge threat to that when you scale. And so what's the difference between companies that maintain it at scale and those that don't?
Who's the question to?
Either one of you.
Oh, either one of you, but I would love if you answered it.
I have feel different, little bit different training about culture. What is a culture? Culture is what the company believes. That's the culture. What's the overall belief in the organization? So you can actually manage that. Mind you, I was in 5 continents, and I had to have the same culture in many places. So we made sure that the processes in hiring, orientation, training is all the same. Same words, same everything. So we know. By the way, and I'm going to say that now, please don't get sensitive, anybody here, okay? You Americans love to talk about race so much. You're so full of baloney about it. It's sickening to me. Because look here, I had hotels in Africa, in China, in Germany, in Japan, everywhere. And every hotel was #1 there. Every hotel. So it has really nothing to do with it. Okay, just to make it clear. And the same words were used. And we hired the same way. Okay? So and everywhere we're #1. So how do I maintain it now? Now I maintain it. We had, first of all, and everybody had the same little card in their pocket, written in different languages, but it says very different our beliefs, what's our creed, what's our vision, what's our objective, and what are the 20 things that are non-negotiable that we have to do. Every hotel, every employee, if I went to an employee and said to dishwasher, show me your card. If he didn't have it, he got reprimanded. I asked the general manager, if he didn't have it, he got reprimanded pretty heavily by me, and I'm pretty good at it, you know. So here everybody knew it's the same knowledge, but now every day there are 20 points in here. There are 20 non-negotiable points. Points number 12 is, for example, is if somebody asks for direction, do not point. Take them, whatever you do, stop and take the guest where they want to go. It's number 12. Tomorrow, that is taught today in every hotel the same way today. Tomorrow is 13, 14, and 20 days is number 12 again. But today also, because after all the employees belong, we tell them what is new in the company. Everybody hears that, what is new in the company. Same thing. And today we read a letter that somewhere was written that hopefully applied to the non-negotiable day. We read the same letter in every hotel. So the same conversation takes place, the same expectation are put in each hotel is the same. So consequently, you have the same thinking. If the thing, of course, it is all geared to think high intent. Our intent is always, and the #1 intent is expressed in here. Any guest that comes in, we are responsible to make sure, no matter what you do, if you wash dishes or what, by what you do to convince that guest to want to come back and want to recommend us. Very clear, everything. It's all very clearly communicated, if that is in Berlin today, or in Sharm el-Sheikh, or in Osaka, or in Shanghai, it doesn't matter, or in Bali. It's communicated the same way, and guess what? The outcome was the same. So now how we maintain the culture, how we work the culture, make sure the culture, the same thinking is there, the same objectives are there. We constantly talked about the objective. #1, why we do it? Because we want to be the best in the world. Why? So we have more opportunities, we have more respect, so we're honored, so we teach the world how to do things right.
Yeah, this question for Leroy. So I'm Andrew Somoza. I think the question I get more from any other entrepreneur, because I spent my whole career doing something similar, out in firewood, and I made a couple of those comments. I was a client, and I still was blown away when I thought it was just going to be firewood. It showed up, and I was beyond impressed. So I think I called you. But the question I always get from an entrepreneur, and I'm going to ask you this question, put you on the spot, is it's your baby, it's your culture, it's your growth, it's your mortgage, it's everything you have all in. How do you decide when that time is for someone else to go grow your baby? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I like to say running a business is like growing up kids. In the beginning, you have no idea what you're doing. You're getting your hands dirty. You're not sleeping. You're stressed out. Am I talking about running a business or having kids? And as they grow up, they get more independent and it's more hands off and it's more leadership. And eventually they leave. Now, it's more important that you maintain a relationship with your kids than with the business. But, and it's a very hard thing, but I think in a business, once you leave, it's good to clean your hands. And for me, I had taken it as far as I could. At that point, I couldn't continue to improve it without losing control and scaling it. And that was the time that I realized it was time for me to exit. And I had, at that point, I kind of realized also I'd put myself in a box and I wasn't able to be as creative and innovate as much as I wanted to. And so, in addition to being obsessed about the customer experience, I also really enjoy innovating and growing as an entrepreneur and trying out new things.
And we
Just
got
a quick follow-up to that question, which is, was there any, like, did you feel celebration, grief? Basic.
He asked if I felt celebration and grief. Yes, definitely both. And there's definitely still times where I'll see something and I feel something kind of like pierce my heart or my soul or something like that. Um, it's a moment that it's definitely something I look at and I'm very proud of and thankful really that God allowed me to do that. And in many ways blown away from where it went in 2013 to 2024 when I exited. I definitely did not have the vision when I started it. The vision grew over time and it was a crazy journey.
So I have one question for each of you. Leroy, you've thrown it out there 3 times now, so I'm going to put you on the spot. You mentioned prayer. You mentioned God just now, and then you quoted a proverb earlier. Has your faith interacted with your business?
It was definitely the foundation and it stopped me from withering up and dying and definitely saved my marriage. I like to say that everything worth having in life is on the other side of hard. And if you get those things that you want and you don't have to work hard for them, it actually ruins them. And there's lots of examples we all know of kids that grow up in wealthy families that get whatever they want. They had the silver spoon and it can ruin them. And then they go to the real world and they struggle. You have the people that win the lottery. Like essentially it ruins everybody that wins the lottery, their life is ruined one way or the other. Most of them financially go bankrupt within a few years. And it's because they didn't work for it. But if you want 6-pack abs, you got to diet, you got to lift weights, you got to do whatever. It's hard, it's uncomfortable, and that's something shallow. If you want to have kids, it's painful, as everybody that has kids know, but it's so fulfilling and wonderful. If you want a healthy marriage, that's 2 people sacrificing for each other. And if you want to grow spiritually, you have to die to yourself. And last time I heard, that's pretty dang hard. But those are the things, and same thing having a business is sometimes it sucks, but you embrace the suck. And for me, yes, my faith, there were times like one time from a Thursday to a Monday, I had $12 in the bank account and I was in a $250,000 credit card debt and I had a new girl at home and my wife depending on me. And I had no idea what I was going to do. And that drove me to seek God. And so being an entrepreneur definitely made me depend on God and pointed me and grounded my faith. Something else that was really cool is I remember that was fantastic and one of those winning moments for me was after we became successful, I had a few customers ask our customer service department if we were a Christian company based solely off of our level of customer service, which I really appreciated. Just that meant that we were loving our customers well.
Thank you for that. Horst, my question for you is, how do you feel about having dogs in your hotels?
Dogs? Not good. But I'm a dog lover. We have dogs at home, but I don't. No, because the dog is there today, and it may be fine with you and your dog, but tomorrow other people sleep in the room, and the dog may have had fleas. Sorry, I don't feel good. But so we had a special room set aside that the only rooms to be used, and we disinfected them and so on. Yeah. Generally, to just say, oh yeah, they're all welcome. Oh, wait a minute, I don't want to. And some who sleep with the dog in a bed, and then it's in the mattress. No, it's wrong. But I can set rooms aside which you disinfect and make sure that they're totally clean for the next one. Yes, I know. I don't feel good. Good question.
I'm gonna,
Go ahead. There's
I'm gonna go right here first, really quick.
I can't beat that question. That is the best question. I'm Karen Robinson Cope. I sold my company about 15 years ago. I've spent the last 15 years as an investor. And I'm a chairman of the board of a pickleball company in Patriot Place, New England. And the Crafts are also known for excellence. Question for you both is, so many of the young people today, it's challenging. And I'd love to get your feedback, because the standards you set can't just be for the folks my age, that needs to be for the 18 and 20-year-olds. And especially when you're running a 12-hour a day, or in your case, 24-hour a day operation. Love to get your feedback. And you guys are both true inspirations. Thank you.
somehow these things come up all the time, and everybody talks about the difficulties with millennials and X's, for example. You make it. I got to 20 years old. I don't deal with 20-year-olds, but millennials and X's are the people. Maybe some 20 years old come to work, but I'm not in it anymore. But what is disturbing to me, while I hope so many businesses and even managers of mine, they didn't do it long because I stopped them, complain about the millennials when it started. Wait a minute, you're the leader, figure it out. You're the leader. Stop. It was so. Why am I hiring the leader that only? There's no solution in complaining about it. But we know what millennials and X. For millennials, and this later was repeated once more for X's at the same time, was Redeemer Church in New York. But now many people hooked in with them and made a big study. And what was the big answer about the millennials? There were two big answers, huge answers. And the X's is the same thing. Two things that they have different than us, than me, is one, do it my way, they say. And secondly, they say, what's in it for me? Okay, do it my way, or I have to know as business now. I have to individualize more. I have to know that. So, for instance, if I go to McDonald's, I will say, I take a number one. The millennial or the X would say, I take a number one, but no pickles, 2 sliced tomatoes, little mayonnaise, and so on. Individuality. I have to know that as business, what do they want? Number one. But as employees, which was maybe the question, I had to say, what's in it for me? That's why when we interview them, we say, join us in being the best in the world. Here's what's in it for you. You will be, and so on. You manage it. That's why we are leaders, for crying out loud, you know. But we try, it's difficult to do that when you're a manager. Because the managers we used to tell, do it this way. In my operation, my agent did it. They say, wait a minute, I'm independent. So involve them, involve them, and involve them. We involve, for example, every employee knows they're involved. If they can improve, or their department, they can report it. And we have a system to give them within 24 hours. We give an answer. Within 48 hours, we tell them if we do it or not. So we respond to them, and they feel part of it again. And by the way, if you don't do that, it's called Taylorism. That's what it's called, yes, Taylorism. Because Taylor taught mass production. And he said to leadership at the time, and we celebrate as leaders in America, like Henry Ford, mass production. He said, all you have to do is tell this guy just to put it here. The next one drills 4 holes. The next one puts 4 screws in and so on. And he said, hire people that cannot think. Just put them there. Again, in fact, better they don't have a brain, but 4 hands. Paying well, so they shut up. That's what he said. Now, that's what we still teach in schools. We say, you plan, they do. But wait a second. How about going to the guy that drills the 4 holes and say, could we do it better? Because he knows it better than I do. And that the millennium says, ask me, I'm doing it. So but we want to send a memo from our office and say, here's how we do it. So just manage it right, be a leader and just manage it, and it's fine. It's no problem. There are no problem.
Great Taylorism. That is great. Thank you.
As a millennial, we're definitely the worst. No, what he says is very true, and it's funny because I do the same thing. Is like with Cutting Edge, we didn't just have a marketing agency or CMO run everything. I would have an SEO company, I would have a PR company, I would have a Google Ads company, I would have and go down the list, and I would take from here and there. And so I definitely see that in myself. But yeah, it comes down to you find the right employees, and you tailor it to their generation. For me, it's a little bit easier since I am a millennial.
Reminds me of we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Everyone is included in the treatment and the invitation to the purpose in which we go. I think we got time for maybe one more.
Leroy, I wanted to follow on what you just said. Find the right employees. I'm a big fan of an organization called Backroads, which probably a lot of you have heard of, travel. They have the most amazing employees, and you spend a week with them, and they are just fantastic. I remember them telling me that they interview 100 candidates and hire 2 typically for the job. I'm curious for both of you, how do you find the right people? How do you screen and interview, and how many do you hire and such?
All right. Well, again, I'm in 50 different locations in the world with totally different cultures. But the first thing you have to do that helps you dramatically, treat the employees right at work for you, so your turnover goes down, so your retention is up. For example, I didn't have to hire that many people because and it may be dramatically heavy in your mind because of your businesses, our employee turnover in the United States was 20%, 18 to 20%. The industry was 120%. All right, so so that's the first thing that helps you don't have a problem. Secondly, the interviewing process. What you said, we went through about an average of 10 to 1, 10 interviews, 1 hire. But we hired in a very sophisticated way. An outside company taught us and licensed us how to interview and learned in the interview if hire or no hire. There were numbers. 50 was the break number. So and we analyzed our organization. We were 49, even though we wanted higher. So slowly, we only hired 51s. So slowly we brought to 50. After that, we only hired 53s and so on, based on that analysis by that company. Now the managers, the company actually interviewed the managers for 3 hours before they came to us. So there was a very careful selection that included the analysis if they would be steady long-term employees or if they were floaters. So it's all, again, what I'm saying is all a process again, and that we came back. But it was for us it was very essential because it's not only in our business that the knowledge works out when you have turnover. The knowledge works out. It costs a lot of money, but particularly in the guest service, people want to be recognized, but employees are there. When they leave, you're in trouble. So it was a very careful, in beginning costly, but on the end it saved a lot of money having no turnover. But beginning to get to that point, it was costly because we had to work with an outside company and so on. But it became very sophisticated. And again, even that in every location. In some location, the turnover is only 3-4%, like Indonesia, because they're scared of not getting a shop next day. But in some locations, it's more difficult. But on the end, the system still was the same.
I think for us, I evolved and learned how to hire and fire and everything really at Cutting Edge. I don't know our statistics, but we would hire people, and if they didn't work out, then we would fire them. And it started to evolve more. I read a book called Who, that was kind of like that was based off of Good to Greats, Have the Right People on the Bus. And I learned in interviewing to ask kind of deeper questions and keep them talking after questions. So you would ask, when's a time that you've done this? And then they give their standard answer, and then you say why or who or when, and you get them talking, and you kind of get beyond their practiced answers, and you start getting the underlying what really drives these people. Do these people really take pride in their work, or do they blame their previous boss for why things didn't work out? And you ask, why did you leave? How long were you there? And then I think when they came on, they
Go ahead.
they would the training early on and setting expectations was very important, and giving them meaning and making them part of the company and the mission. And then they would also see, since we were a smaller company, but I know Horst did this to a degree as well, I never thought of myself as too good to do anything. I could still, to this day, go, and even though I've been gone for a year and a half, I could go out and do deliveries, and I would be as fast as any delivery artisan. I would upsell as much as any, and I would, and the customer experience would be just as good. I could get on the phone and take orders and take care of the customers, and I could go into the warehouse and stack a rack or stack a box of firewood, and that allowed me to have a deep understanding and a closer relationship with all the employees and understand them and their frustrations on a very deep level.
I would like to address this for a moment, because maybe you could take that with you or not, and because that's the mistake that I will say every company makes. Every company. I mean, again, I don't want to insult anybody here, but I couldn't find a company yet that doesn't do it. It's the wrong interviewing, the wrong orientation. The hiring isn't inappropriate process. We do all the same. We ask certain questions, and you have to do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. If you, mind you, I paid money. That's all I knew how to do too. But we paid money to learn different. What you want from an employee very much is the right behavior. That's very much a piece. The technical work that you do, you can teach. That the behavior that they want, that they're nice to each other, that they're respectful to the guest, that they're in time, those are all behavioral elements. And the fact is, I worked at the same time. Mind you, I had to. We had 24,000 employees at the time, and so I mean, it all had to be processed. That's why I worked with behavioral analysts in University of Colorado and University of Frankfurt. But behavior cannot be taught. No matter how much you interview after a person is 16 years old. Unless, and I try to drive this home to people, there's a significant emotional event in a person's life, then you can teach behavior. And guess what? Interviewing for a new job is a significant emotional event. So instead of having a question, which you can find out by looking at their resume and calling, then you really get the real answers. Get no pretend. So you follow up on that, but in the interviewing process, input the behavior that they want into them, and ask, Mary, can you be nice to everybody? And what will Mary say? Yes. And say, Mary, wait, I'm really serious because we are petty about it. You won't be happy unless you just look every guest within 10 feet in the eyes and says, how are you? Don't say, okay, and don't say hi, and say, can you do that? And she will say yes again. Now I impacted her behavior. Or then another thing that we are crazy about is being in time. We are really nearly silly about it. Can you be in time? With everything, answering an email, being in time to work, with everything, time. Yes. Really? Yes. So now, that's the selection. So other behavioral element, of course, we ask them the question too. So, but this is a key moment to impact the very thing we want right, being nice. And we said, can you be friendly to your fellow employees and be helpful to them? We believe in helping each other. Yes. Now comes the orientation. First day of work, another significant emotional event. I can tell you what happens in your businesses. What happened the first day of work? I can tell you. They come in and you tell them the rules of the company. Hello, here's the rules. Here are the rules that we have to live now. And come, let's be honest. And then we give them the handbook with more rules. And then we give them insurance papers and all the stuff they fill out. And what happened next, I like to tell that story. Because I looked at so many companies, everybody the same. And then what happened next? The boss makes his stupid team speech. We're a team here. We're a team here. Yeah. I mean, wait a minute. How a team is a group of people who have a common objective and help each other toward that objective. But we haven't given them an objective. We haven't given them purpose. We just give them rules. And then we say we're a team. And then we turn over the new waiter, Steve, the new waiter. We say work with Jason. He knows the ropes. For somehow there's ropes being made here. So we turn over Steve, the new waiter, to Jason, who is already here 9 months. And on the way to the kitchen, Jason tells Steve, this company sucks. That's his orientation. That's how people get oriented. That's how they oriented. Okay, and come on. The first day of work in the new hotels and Tego Hotel, I was there and role played how to say hello to guests, how to be nice to each other, how to do it. I role played it against significant emotion when bring it in and so on. You know, guys, that's why I'm saying if the employee is not right, it's you made a mistake somewhere in that. If we accept that, now we had to fire some. What did we do? We sit down and say, where do we have to tweak our processes? Somewhere we went wrong. Where did we go wrong? I can't do anything about Bill whom we fired. And he's gone. But I can figure out maybe we have to have different questions. You know, questions playing a big role. I'm not saying not play a role, but so it has to be different. We have to understand that whole building so that the employee is part of your thinking and part of your objective. That's what it's all about.
That's very good.
No story.
That's very good. I love that. And honestly, Horst, what you're saying, what I hear both of you saying to some degree is I've heard this quote that says, and even a lot of the work that I do, that our behaviors are swimming on a sea of beliefs. And so I hear you saying a lot, hey, build the belief into them and they will create the behaviors that you want. And if they don't, gotta go.
But I have to add one more thing in all of it, okay? I mean, and this whole thing about employees and so on, because it really gets me how people handle it. I work with a company, then the CEO wrote this wonderful book, Our Most Important Asset, Our Employees. I know he gave a darn about his employees, but he wrote a beautiful book about it. So what is it? You know, and if you're here, I am a believer, okay? And my hero says, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, are your employees your neighbors, or say, what the heck? No, employees are not my neighbors. Are my guests my neighbors? Or do I say, no, how the heck, the guests are not my neighbors. The rest of my, that's ridiculous. If I'm really listen to the word, love your neighbor as yourself, and then I have to say, well, that means I have to really care for my guest, my customer. I have to really care for my employees. In fact, they're pretty close neighbors, even. So, and I'm sorry I had to put that in there too.
I love it. I just want to like continue this over an actual fire somewhere. Just let you run, let you talk. I feel like you gotten loose now. You know, you can keep going. Hey, I know we're at time, and so I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming today. Can we say thank you to these two gentlemen, Leroy Hite, Horst Schulze?
Thank you.
Thank you to Voices to Connect, Jessica and Julie, for creating this environment for us today. I think we're going to hang out for just a little bit if anybody wants to have a conversation up front here, or take some pictures or whatever. But yeah, Jessica, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be with you guys today. Yeah.
And thank you, Horst and Leroy. This is just like an appetizer, but we're really grateful that you guys could be here. So I want to also make sure everyone knows about Horst's book. And even though he sold 100,000 already, I think that, you know, every team needs this book, and his seminal book, Excellence Wins. But yes, so think about if the message has resonated with you, if your company or people you know would like to hear from Leroy and Horst together or separate, please let us know. A couple of you in here have already engaged some of our thought leaders. And another thing that we do that we care a lot about is developing people to be more forward-facing in their roles. And especially today, I want to be sure we thank PAX Creative and Carlton AB for super sound last minute, Capital City Grill, and especially Trey McKnight for helping us get this going. But we'll be around. I hope you'll get some more food and drinks and especially connect with one another. And we'll be glad to talk with you guys. So thank you so much.